from dental surgery.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll get started on page 99, but we're going to get started on 101 and then go back. All the way down. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Bani Rov Maslecha Avo Beitecha Eshacha Ve'elecha Al Pashecha Be'yiratecha Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai Ahavti Ve'od Beitecha U'mekol Mishkan Kevodecha Bani Eshlacha Ve'evra Evracha Lifnei Adonai Osi Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berach chastecha Aneli ve'menishecha Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael. And we turn back to page 99. Thanks for our bodies and our souls on this morning of this new day. Elohai neshama shenatata li tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata li tehorahi. Ata berata, ata yitzarta, ata nefata bi, ve'ata neshamra v'kirbi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. V'ata'ati bilami meni v'hachzira bilati lavo kol zman shama v'kirbi modani lefanecha Adonai Elohai Elohei Avotai ve'imotai Ribon kol ha'ma'asim Adon kol ha'neshamot Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai amachazir neshamot l'ifkarim meitim. Baruch atah Adonai vast heaven space. Crafted the human body with wisdom, creating within many openings and passageways. It is known and revealed to you that should even a single passageway rupture or a single opening close up, it would be no longer possible to exist and stand before you. Baruch atah Adonai, healer of all flesh, who creates wondrously. 103. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sefi bina lachim ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'salmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani Ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, mahal v'sharumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Zehokeh Kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ravah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shasali kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Anotim laya'if koach. Today and every day may you look upon us, and may all who see us look upon us with eyes filled with kindness, love, and compassion. Act toward us with kindly love. Baruch atah Adonai, Omer chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. 107. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher geshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Inu Torah le'amo Yisrael. 107. These are the deeds that yield immediate fruit and continue to yield fruit in time to come. Honoring parents, performing deeds of kindness and love, attending the house of study morning and evening, providing hospitality, visiting the sick, helping the needy bride, attending the dead, probing the meaning of prayer, making peace between one person and another and between loving partners, the Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, and the study of Torah is the most basic of them all. $122. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam barechu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam barechu. Baruch oseh bereshit. Baruch omer v'yoseh. Baruch ozer u'kayim. Baruch merachem al haaretz. Baruch merachem al habriot. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam barechu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam barechu. Baruch mishalem sakar tov. Mishalem sakar tov l're'av. Baruch Ha'elam v'kayam l'netzach. Baruch bodel u'matzil. Baruch shemo. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam barechu. Baruch Shamar V'Haya Haolam Baruchu. See, you're the one who gives life to the world, sovereign, praised, and glorified forever and ever. This is your great name. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech meholal b'tishbacho. Page 134. Mezmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat Tov Lahodot LaAdonai Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon V'hagid b'boker chastecha Ve'emunah lecha b'leilot Ale asur v'ledabel Ale higayon v'chinor Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat Tov Lahodot LaAdonai Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Smartani Adonai B'Po'alecha K'ma'aseh yadecha arendel Magalu Ma'asecha Adonai Me'oram Kuma'shevotacha Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat Tov Lahodot LaAdonai Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Tzadik Amar Yifra Keretz Balanon Yizkah Shetuli Bebeit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrihu Oyenuhum Beseva V'sheni Meranim Yehiyu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Suri Suri V'lo Ashrei, page 136. The transliteration is on page 181. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yehalalu Chasela Ashrei Ashrei Chaselo
Ashrei Adonai Eloheinu
Hilal David Aron Kalohai HaMelech Baruch Hashem Le'olam Va'ed
V'toyom Avimcha V'Hashim Le'olam Va'ed
Gadol Adonai Mehulah Me'od V'Ligulato Ein Chaker
L'Odorei Shabbat Ma'asecha L'Udatecha Ya'idu
Ahadar Kavod Hodacha Divrei Niflot Kacha Asicha
V'Zuzum Ke'Eloheinu L'Malachaka Sabrina
Zecharav Kaya Biyu Sivkacha Yeraneinu
Anu Barachim Adonai Erev Halim U'Lo Haseh
Of Adonai Lakol Masav.
Yudu Adonai Kol Maasecha, V'asid Echad Ravucha.
V'od Malchut Kayomeru, V'guracha Yedaberu. Yidu B'nei Adam Yorotah. Malchut Malchut Kol Olamim. V'shaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Ve'enech Elohecha Yisaberu, v'anotim lahem et ochlam be'ito. Tzadik Adonai b'chol drachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav. Retzon Yereav Yahasem, et Shabbatam Yishma V'yoshiem. Yemad Adonai Yerepi, V'reko Basar Shem Kosho Le'olam Va'ed. V'anachnu nevarech Yah, Me'echad V'yad Olam. Hallelujah. $141. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, and the God show. Hallelujah, the Anuzo. Hallelujah, Gurota. Hallelujah, Kerota. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, thank God shofar. Hallelujah, never let me know. Hallelujah, talk to my soul. Hallelujah, be near God. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, Tzimtzalei Shama. Hallelujah, Tzimtzalei Kruah. Bolan Shama. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, amen ve'amen. 27. Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo. Hello. Again, Kowaki is doing the Yeshabat Shimcha Le'ad Malkeinu. Brachot v'horaot me'ata v'yad olam Baruch atah Adonai המלך גדול במשפחות, אלוהות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלוקי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, יעמד יברח ירצה וימליך מלכותי, וחייך עולם יום אחד, וחייך בית ישראל. Bagala, Ubisman Kari, Viamaru, Amen. Eshmem Rafam Gora, Eolam Elmaya, Yepara. Yiparach Vishnabak, Yiparit Rumam Vishnasem, Yitatar, Yitalev, Yitalal, Shemei Kuchta, Ruriku. Leilam Komer Hata Shiraka, Tushvekata Benekemata, Tamisiran Biama, Vienaru, Amen. Rise as able people 49. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai lai. Barakhu et Adonai, Amen. Baruch Adonai, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or u'borei choshen, oseh shalom u'borei et hakom. Kindness you in your throne, well, and your goodness day after day you renew creation. In Gerka Chaim, the angel atah havis gulta no melach. In Gerka Chaim, the angel atah Zulat Kamokin Lachai Olam Haba. Havis gulta kagolim with the Mashiach, but angel melach Hamoshienu, but Tetiyat Hameti. One. El Adon Kol Masim, Baruch Mevorach B'Fikot Neshama. Male olam da'at v'na asor b'moto Amigal chayot ha'kodesh nehedar v'kavod ha'lam merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso ha'asad v'rachmim lifnei kevodo Kolim l'orot shebara Eloheinu Dugina Hubaskel, Koakura, Natam Bahem, Miot Bashim, Neker, Nevel, Beleim Zivum, Fikim Noga, Naezipam, Befo Haolam, Slechim Beseta, Besasim Bevoa, Kosim Beema, Ritzon Kom. Erev Havod, Dovim Shmo, Shahol Lavarina, Lezacher Machuto, Karal Shemesh, Vayiz Ra'or, Ra'av Hikim, Sorat Havana, Sheba Dovim Lo, Kol Sabah Marom, Tiferet Ugedula, Shabibo Fanim, Bechayot HaKodesh. I love your book. Three. Raksorim Malkin Golan Bore Kedoshim. Lamovim Kulam Barim, Kulam Giborim, Klamasim Memaritsom Kunam. Lamed Ablim Alehem Olachut Shamayim Zemineh, Zemizeh, Nodim Reshut Zelazeh. I Bisu Shramanacha Ruach, Safaron Magadusha, Kulam Keechad Onim, Be'omyim Be'omrim Be'yirah. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Adon Kol Haaretz Tzebaot. Ofanim B'chayot HaKodesh, Barash Gadol Minasim B'mashrafim, U'motam B'shapchim B'omrim, Baruch Kavod Adonai, Mimkomo, El Baruch Nimot Yitenu. God's goodness, the work of creation, is renewed each day, as the psalmist declared. Thank the Creator of the great lights, for God's love is everlasting. Or Kadash Hatzion Ka'ir, or Kadash Hatzion Ka'ir, Kekulam Zeira Lenoro, Baruch Adonai, Yoser HaMe'orom. 154. You have loved us deeply, Adonai our God, and showered us with boundless compassion. Amin Malkeinu, for the sake of our ancestors who trusted in you, to whom you taught the laws of life, so may you be gracious to us and instruct us. And Creator, have compassion for us, when our hearts, that we may understand, and will love, discern, hear, and study, observe, perform, and fulfill all the teachings of your Torah with love. Ve'ha'eranenu b'toratecha, ve'da'avek v'meinu b'mitzvotecha, ve'yached zeva'avenu, v'ya'avu yirah et shemecha, v'lo le'olam va'ed, v'lo nevos le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem ba'ad shecha, Adorah b'atatu, Nagila v'nismecha, Nagila v'nismecha, Yeshuatecha. V'havienu, v'havienu, v'havienu l'shalom, ve'arbakan fot ha'aretz, ve'arbakan fot ha'aretz, ve'tolicheinu, ve'tolicheinu, ve'tolicheinu kol mamiyut le'artzeinu, Eloheinu, Kol Memiut Le'artzeinu. Ki Elpora Yeshua Atan, Uvanu V'Charta Mikol Am Velashon. Ki Elpora Yeshua Atan, Uvanu V'Charta Mikol Am Velashon. V'Kei Rahavanu L'Shimcha Hagadol Sala Be'emet. Todot lecha li'achecha b'ahavah. Baruch atah Adonai, aboker b'yamo Yisrael, b'ahavah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al avavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha v'vlechtecha b'derech v'shokbecha v'ftumecha v'shartam lavot al yadecha. V'hayu l'totafot beinenecha u'chtaftam al mezuzot beitecha u'b'sharecha. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Elohim Zulat Ezrat Avotenu Yotin Watahu Me'olam. Middle of page 158. Elod La'el Barakhu L'Mevorach Moshe Miriam V'nei Yisrael L'chaim Shira V'simcha Rabbah Baruch Ulam. Aram is the God on high who is ever praised. Moses and Miriam and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot, oseh feled, Norah tehilot, oseh feled. Shira Chadasha, Shivafu Gehulim, Leshimcha Safat Hayam, Yachad Kulam, Kodu Vehimlechu, Ve'ameru, Adonai Imloch, Adonai Imloch, Le'olam Va'ed. Sur Yisrael, Kulam Ezrat Yisrael, Kufnei Kumecha Yehuda veYisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. We rise as able, page 150. Adonai sefatita ufi agitehi Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei HaKol Ve'zoker Chasdei Avot B'imlatot U'levi Goel Yivdei B'neihem Le'man Shemo B'yahava Malachot Erotim Mashiach Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham U'Kokei Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayim Eitim Atarav L'Hoshia Mashiva Ruach Morid HaGasham Mechalkei Chayim B'Chesed Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Somet Noflim V'Rafat Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayim Emunatol B'Shenei Afar Mithamot Nabagurot Umidom Melach Melach Memihim Tumechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua Manatah Chayovim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMeitim 161 Mechadesh Hashimcha Ba'olam Yeshem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei HaKatuv al Yad Nevi'echa V'Kara Zel Zeh Ve'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo. Az bekorash gadol adir v'chazak mashmi'im ko, Minasim u'matzrafim, u'motam baruch yomeru. Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo Mimkomcha Malkeinu Tofia V'timloch Aleinu K'mechakim Anachnu Lach Madhai Timloch B'Tzion V'karov Yemenu Le'olam Va'ed Tishkon Titgadal V'titgadash B'toch Yerushalayim Ircha L'dor V'dor L'netzach Netzachim Einena Torah Malchutecha Hadavar ha'amor b'shirei uzecha al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha Yemloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Yitzion L'dor v'dor Alleluia L'dor v'dor nagid lecha U'lenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish V'shivchachalo mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Yel melech gadol v'kadosh ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Continue with the English or the Hebrew for the rest of Tefillah, or your own heart's private prayers and meditations through page 166. Say shalom b'roma, tu yasik shalom aleichem, ve'al kol Yisrael, $167. Yitkada Sheme Rabba. Yaman Rakir Devialit Mafute. Bekaye Komu Yom Ukaye Obey Yisrael. Bagala Bagala Ubisman Kari B'Yamaru Amen. Yeshme Rabba Levorah Le'olam Ve'amaya Yeparat Vishnavat Viparikrama Vidnaseh Vidadar Vidale Vidhalal Shemei Kudshat Rurehu Le'elami Kobirchata V'shirata Kushvekata V'nekemata Damihirat Yama V'yamaru Amen. On the Volcan Mishra will be Shmeyavi and Brew. Amen. Shalom Ram Shabbat. Chaim Alenvil Ko Yisrael be and Brew. Amen. Oh say Shalom Imrama Huya say Shalom. Alenvil Ko Yisrael Ko Yisrael Hevel be and Brew. Amen. Seder Kriyat Torah. Service for the reading from the Torah scroll, page 168. Ein hamocha va'alokim Adonai, v'ein ha'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol orcha. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. Adonai Osiamo Yishen, Adonai Yevarech, et Amo V'Shamo. Ziva Virson Ta'estion, Ivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Ivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Ki V'Kal V'Vatavnu, Melech Yoram V'Nisa, Adonai. We rise as able, and need a volunteer to carry the torch. Oh. Vayivin Saharon, Vayomer Moshe, Guma Adonai, V'yafutzu Oivecha, V'yanduzu B'tzanecha, V'fanecha, V'yitzion, V'tzei Torah, V'yitzion, V'tzei Torah, U'devar Adonai, Yerushalayim, Baruch Shematam, Torah, Torah, Baruch Shematam, Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato. 71. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Lu'anaiti, Roma Shemo Yasod, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, Hagedura, Hatiferet, Be'anetzach Le'chakot, Yibol HaShamayim U'Haaretz, Yibol HaShamayim U'Haaretz, Adonai Hamalach, Tamid Na'aseh Le'chol Merod. From the moon, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'yishachadu, Le'Hadonai From the moon, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'yishachadu, V'har Bashem, Tikadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Al Shoshan Devarim, Al Shoshan Devarim, Al Shoshan Devarim, Olam Olamim, Al Shoshan Devarim, Al
Shosha Devarim. Shosha Devarim. Olam Novei. Al HaTorah ve'al HaUdam ve'al Milut HaSadim. Al HaTorah ve'al HaUdam ve'al Gemilut HaSadim. See that? So as we left off at the end of last week's portion, Jacob, working with his mother, Rivka, finds a way to take the blessing that Isaac at least intends originally to give to his brother Esau. Esau is understandably angered by the deception that he is the victim of, and he threatens to kill Jacob, and everybody thinks it's a good idea for Jacob to get out of town for a significant cooling off period. So our portion begins with just that. The name of the portion is Vayetze, and it begins Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Haran. So Jacob left Beersheba, where his family had been living, and he set out toward Haran. And his first night out, he, according to the rabbis, crosses the boundary outside the land of Israel, and he lies down for his first night really away from home, his first night away from the land where he has grown up. And remember, Jacob is a person who is described as Ish Ohalim. He's not a person who likes to leave home. He's described as a person who hangs out in the tent while his brother is off on hunting trips. So this is Jacob's first time away. And he lies down, and he has this famous dream. A dream of a ladder connecting heaven and earth. And angels are going up and down on that ladder. And when he wakes up, he famously declares, behold, surely God is in this place, and I did not know. So it's a passage about an encounter with the divine. A couple of things just to note as we go into reading. First of all, the rabbis note of interest the direction that the angels are going. The passage says the angels are olim v'yordim bo. The angels are going up and down on it. Now, most people take it to be the latter. Some of the rabbis actually say they're going up and down on Jacob, or they're bringing Jacob up and down. But even if you go with the more plain sense meaning of the text, with it being the latter, it's interesting they note that the angels are going up and down rather than down and up. Because one makes the presumption, I think, that angels start out in heaven and they sometimes come down to earth and then they go back up. But the order indicates that perhaps in some ways it's otherwise. That angels or malachim, a malach is a messenger. So perhaps these are, the angels live here amongst us, and they go up to heaven sometimes, and then they come back down. Also, want to note that the rabbis, based on this passage and a couple before it, say that this is the beginning of the evening prayer. They say that the three patriarchs each institute one of the three traditional prayer times. So they base that on a number of passages. With Abraham, it says in a number of places, Vashem Abraham Bavokir. Abraham woke up early in the morning. Abraham gets up early, he prays, he encounters God, first thing in the morning. Of Isaac, we read a couple of weeks ago, when he meets Rebecca, he's out in the field, and we discussed what he was doing, but one of the readings is praying around twilight. So the afternoon or late afternoon prayer comes from Isaac, and the prayer at night comes from Jacob. And it is an interesting thing that almost all of Jacob's encounters with God happen at nighttime. There's something kind of nocturnal about his character. So with that, I'm going to be reading from the beginning of the parsha. If you are here, the Eitz Chaim books are mostly under your pews. They're also stuffed in the back. And I'll be starting on page 168. If you are streaming with us and you don't have a copy of this particular book, you can follow along in any biblical text. Portion by Yetsei begins with Genesis chapter 28, and we're going to be starting with the beginning of the chapter, which is to say, verse 10. Again, Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. Linda, Joe, you just want to? Yeah, I'll do in the land of Bela.
Yosef Sor ben Abraham.
Sor ben Abraham. Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu HaKolam. Asher b'Sharani V'Chomani. V'Natalan V'Torah. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu HaKolam.
Amen. Vayitze Abraham Beersheva Vayelech Harana Vayifga b'makom Vaya'alen Sham Yiva HaShemesh Vayikach Ve'avnei HaMakom Vayasem Mirashotav Vayishkav b'makom Hahu Ve'achalom Ve'hinei Sulam Utzav Artzav V'rosho Magia Hashemayma Hine Malachei Elohim Olim V'yordim Bo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan banu Torah temet, v'chayei olam natan b'chayei. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haTorah.
Amen. All here, you want to do this? Earlier this morning? Yeah. Tamod al Amot al Devorah Benjamin Valea Sheni.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Barak Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher B'chabarnu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Amen. Yidei Adonai Nitzav Alav V'yomar Ani Adonai Elohei Abraham Avicha Elohei Yitzchak Haaretz Asher Ata Shochev Aleha Lecha Etnana Ulezarecha Haya Zaraka Kafar Haaretz Ufaratzah Yamatakin V'tzafona V'negba V'nidrachu V'chad U'mishpatot Adamah U'v'zarecha.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Neftah Hotein. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Shabbat, a prayer for all those in need of healing at this time. I invite anyone who has somebody who you are holding in your hearts for healing, body and soul and spirit, that you can speak to them.
Go on, Sneaker.
Ivan Thompson and Leah Help.
All those affected by the Ukrainian atrocities.
Did you hear David working?
Sure, fine.
That's true.
For behalf. For these and for all who are in need. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzhak Yaakov V'Imotenu Sarah V'Kara Kavalaya Yivarech V'Yavatei Et HaCholim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleichem V'Hachzikam L'Refuatam Yishpat Lahem Refuah Shleima Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf V'Kol Sha'ar HaCholim V'Zeh Yidei Oskim V'Tzarcheihem Shavatim V'Zot V'Refuat Kol Lavo Hashka B'Agala V'Zman Kariv Nomar, Amen. May the one who bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those who are in need. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and to vigor, grant them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all who are in need. May God grant strength to all those who tend to them. The Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out. We yet hope and pray that healing will be speedily at hand. Let us say, Amen. Shira?
Shir Torah Bat Sarah Bat Asher.
Amod Shira Sipora Basara Asher.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach,
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam, asher ba'arkanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Yine Elohim imach. V'shmartecha b'chol asher telech. V'shivtecha el ha'adamah hazot. Ki lo azavta ad asher imasiti ad asher divarti laha. V'kat Yaakov mishnato. V'yomar achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh. V'anochi lo yadati. V'yirah v'yomar Manorah makom hazeh. Ein zeh ki im beit Elohim. V'zeh shahar ma'ashamayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam v'tapatochim. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishabeirach for all those who have come up to the Torah this morning. Mishabeirach Avotinu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotinu Sarah v'Kara Kalolea v'Vorech Ekol Ela Shalu Hayom L'Kvod HaMakom L'Kvod HaTorah V'L'Kvod HaShabbat. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Otam V'Yachum Mishpachoteihem Yishlach Rachas Makah B'Chol Maaseh Yedehem V'Kol Yisrael Atehem V'Achioteihem V'Nomar Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless all who have assembled this morning to honor God, the Torah, and Shabbat. The Blessed One, the Holy One, protect them and their families, bring blessing and success on all the works of their hands, together with our people everywhere. And let us say, Amen. Yetida Shemera. Body right here, Tibian Lip, Mafute, Bekaye, Tonu Yomefon, Ukaye, Kope, Israel, Bagala, Bagala, Ubizanari, Vimru, Amen. Heshmera, Amadora, Eolam, Eomaya, Yitbarak v'Shabbat, Yitbarak Tuman v'Tnaseh, Yitadar v'Yitalech v'Yitalal, Shemei Kushan v'Reihu, Le'ela Mikol Birchata v'Shirata, Tushbechata v'Nechemata, Amiran v'Yama, v'Yemeru, Amen. All here to left, to grass. Grass. Yeah, undo. Tristan. Ari Ben Eliezer.
Miriam Neshama Bat Abraham B'Sarah.
Shabat Morning, Sarah, and Brother Lord, please rise. Able. Yeah, that's it.
Torah Asher Samoshe B'nei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai V'yad Moshe. It's time to heal the Machazikim Ba B'tom HaMerusha. Eitz Chaim Yim, Machazikim Ba, Betom Kamelushar, Lerakei Har, Darkei Noam, Bechol Netivotei HaShalom, Lerakei Har, Darkei Noam, Bechol Netivotei HaShalom, Yai Lai Lai, Yai Lai 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 Lai. La 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 la. La 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 la. Okay. Oh, yes.
Comfortable? Sit for the moment. Get your thought. See it. The reading from the Haftarah. This is one of those Haftarot where the Ashkenazi and Sephardi traditions have chosen different portions. I almost always like the Sephardi portion better, despite my background, my family history. Figure I go Sephardi during Pesach, so I'll go Sephardi when the Haftarah portion is, speaks a little more to me of the portion, has a better connection with the portion, and it's a little shorter. So you can find the Sephardi Haftarah for Vayetze. It comes from the book of Hosea. On page 100, it starts on page 195, and it brings to bear instances from Jacob's life, starting with his birth, and later where Jacob becomes representative of the people of Israel, includes Jacob's meeting with Esau, which we'll read about a little more next week, and they become kind of illustrative of events in the history of the people to follow. So again, you can begin page 195 if you're joining us streaming. It is Hosea chapter 11, starting with verse 7. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nbiim tovim, v'ratzav v'divreihem ha'ne'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher b'torah Moshe avo, u'Yisrael amo, u'b'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'ani tluim Shuvati ve'el ha'yikru yachad lo yiromen Eben ha'Ephraim Amalunecha Yisrael Echet necha ha'adama Asimcha ketzovim Nepach alai libi Yachad yifru Shumai Lo esaharon lapi lo ashuk v'shachet Ephraim Hi Elohim v'lo ish b'kirbecha kadosh v'lo avo be'ir acharei Adonai yachud aryeh yishak Yihu yishak yashardu banim miyam Yechardu etzipor miMitzrayim, Uchei Yonah me'eretz Ashur, Oshivihim al batehem, Num Adonai, Zo'uni l'chahash Ephraim, U'mirma beit Yisrael Yehuda, Od radem al-imel, Rim kedoshim ne'eman, Ephraim ro'eh ruach v'rodei kadim, Ohayom, Hazavashot, Yardah, Ufriti Mashor, Yifrotu, Beshemen, Mitzrayim Yuval,
Baruch Adonai Yehuda, V'kol al Yaakov Yibracha, U'ma'alav Yashiv Lo, Abet Enakabet Achiv, Lo No Sarah Et Elohim, Vayasar El Malach Vayuchal, Achar Yisrael Be'el Yisrael Enu, V'san Yidaber Imanu, Adonai Elohei HaTzebaot, Adonai Zikro, V'atav Elohecha Tashru, Chesed Mishpat Shemur, V'kaveh El Elohecha, Amin. A trader who uses false balances, who loves to overreach, Ephraim thinks, I have become rich, I have gotten power, all my gains do not amount to an offense which Israel built. I, the Lord, have been your God, ever since the land of Egypt. I will let you dwell in your tents again, as in the days of old, when I spoke to the prophets, for I granted many visions, and I spoke parables through the prophets. As for Gilad, it is worthless, and to no purpose have they been sacrificing oxen in Gilgal. The altars of these are also like stones upon a plowed field. In Gilad Haven, Akshav Hayu, Gilgal, Shvarim, Zibechu, Gam, Vizbechotam, Kegalim, Al Tamei Sadai. Baruch atah Adonai Olam Zerkor Mi Tzadik V'Chor Ha'el HaNe'eman HaOmer L'Stem Navir Kayim Shekol Devarav V'Levat Tzedek Ne'eman Hu Adonai Eloheinu V'Ne'emanim Tvarach V'Davar Echad Yitvarech Ha'achor Lo Yeshuv Rekam Kel Melech Ne'eman V'Rachman Atah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaNe'eman V'Kol Devarav Rachem Al Tzion Ki Beit Chayinu Alevad Me'Estushia B'nei Rabbi Yameinu Baruch atah Adonai V'Sameach Tzion B'Banecha Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu B'Elayanu V'Yavdecha Malchut Beit David V'Shivtecha B'nei Rayavo V'Yagel V'Keinu Al Kiso Lo Yeshev Zar Lo Michalu Ha'erim Et Yevodo Yivashem V'Shatan Yishbat Halo Shelo Yifen Ne'ro Le'olam V'Ed Baruch atah Adonai U'Magen David Al Torah V'Al Ha'avodah V'Al Hanvi'im V'Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenotat Alanu Adonai Eloheinu L'Kedusha V'Lenucha L'Chavod V'Tifaret Al Hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anu Modim Lach V'Barakim Otach Yitbarach Shemcha V'Tikol Chai Tamid Le'olam Va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShama Rise as able. Prayer for Peace, page 178. Yiratzon milpanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'alei avotim v'yimotim v'etam milchamot v'shpichut damim min ha'olam. When we see the day when war and bloodshed cease,
For the great peace will embrace the whole world.
And the nation will outthreaten nation, and the human family will not again know war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we've not come into being to hate or to destroy. We've come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture, I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of vicious peace, and it shall not be ravaged by war.
Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. Let us say,
Amen.
Turning the Torah, page 183. Yehodu et Shem Adonai ki mitzad shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, v'shamayim eren le'amo, v'hila le'kol chasidav, v'ibnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mula David, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kavod shemo, Yishachavul Adonai b'adrat kodesh, Kol Adonai Elamai v'kodim, Adonai Ravim, Kol Adonai b'adrat Kol Adonai b'adar, Kol Adonai shover ha'azim, Yishaver Adonai et arnei ha'amanon, Arkitem k'loy Elohim Tzirot Kedol v'Kirei, Kol Adonai v'tzeh la'votesh, Kol Adonai Yaakov midbar, Yaakov Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai Yechol Elai Avod, Sof Yorotei Halot Ulo Omer Kavod, Adonai Lamahu Yashavayeshev Adonai Naseh Olam, Adonai Oz Le'amu Yiten, Adonai Yechol Harek Yedamo L'Shalom. Yilakachtom nachati lachem Torati al tazovu, Etz ha'im L'machazikim ba, V'tom echecha Milushar, Yeramecha Tarchecha, V'chol tirotecha Shalom. Ashivenu Adonai Elakam v'nashuva, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, So we're going to focus on this morning on a name of God that comes out of this portion. In the portion, in Torah itself, this is not a name exactly, but for the rabbis in Rabbinic Judaism, by the time of Midrash and Talmud, it becomes one of the most important names of God. And again, it comes right out of this story. So I'll start with the passage from the beginning of the portion. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. And Vayifgam Makom, he came upon, translated in English is the place. The Hebrew is he came upon Makom, the Hebrew word. He stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, or again the same word, Makom, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. He had a dream. A stairway was set on the ground, and its top reached to the sky, and the messengers of God were going up and down on it. Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Surely God is in this place, and I did not know." So, before we go into further commentary, this word, the Hebrew makom, translated in English here as place, it occurs a lot. There's a lot of occurrences of a word in just a few verses. So, what do you make of the repetition of place? You came upon the place, taking one of the stones of the place, and that doesn't seem necessary, right? You could have just said taking one of the stones. He put it under his head and lay down in that place. Well, where else is he going to lay down other than the place where he is? So why so much emphasis? What do you make of the emphasis on place?
Yes, we're supposed to pay attention.
Okay. Yeah, so anytime you see a word repeated multiple times in a short passage, it's calling for your attention. But
Maybe it's reminding us that no matter where we are in the world, God is in the place.
okay,
He's with us. Right there.
so the emphasis on place is a reminder that God is every place. Okay? Yeah. Other thoughts on the word? Yeah.
Picking up something a little different in Hebrew, even though it means place is not exactly translated, but might mean special shelter or something special about it. So that's why they repeated it as a special place. Or I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That could be. Absolutely.
Maybe also
Or
that it's taking the cultural norm, the religious norm of the area. Gods have their locations and emphasizing that God's location is different. So making a contrast.
yes, so in this time, right, tribal gods are place focused, right? If you're, the god of the Canaanites, Baal, lives in this particular place. And every group has their own gods, and their gods live in specific places. And it's of note that this is, again, according to the rabbis, just outside the land of Israel, right? So by philosophy of the surrounding tribes at the time. Like when you go to a new place, the gods change, right? Like, okay, I'm now going to the territory of this god and that god. So by those rules, now that Jacob has left the land of Israel, Adonai is no longer the reigning deity of this particular territory. New God. So perhaps the text is drawing our attention to the fact that, no, it doesn't work that way for us, right? That just because he's leaving the land of Israel, like the God, we don't get change of land does not mean change of God. Okay? So with all of this in mind, this midrash from Bereshit Rabbah, which is one of the really well-known midrashic passages. He came upon the place, Makom. Rav Huna says in the name of Rabbi Ami, why do we substitute the name of the Holy Blessed One and use place? So, for Rav Huna, he's pointing to the fact that, again, already by his time, why do we do this? Assumes that it's common practice, right? So by the rabbinic period, Hamakom, literally the place with a capital P, becomes one of the primary names of God. We've got Adonai, we've got Elohim, we've got Shaddai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy Blessed One, but Hamakom is up there in the hierarchy of names. And Rav Huna is saying, okay, it comes out of this portion where we keep having this emphasis on Hamakom, the place. But he's asking why? Why this is an odd name for God, right? If you were thinking like, okay, I want a name for God, let's go with the place. I mean, it sounds more like a coffee shop. So why? And the answer is because God is the place of the world, and the world is not the place of God. Okay, that's a philosophical statement of sorts, which is not entirely clear what it means. What do you make of this? What does it mean? Donna, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but something else is triggered on to me.
Okay.
And I thought this a long time ago in my travels, that wherever you go in the world, if there's a synagogue, you feel like you're at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's all you can God in there. I don't know why that's this, but I'm rereading God is the place of the world. Your world is not the place of God, and I cannot make sense out of that. But that makes sense to me, that God is, or at least Judaism, is wherever you live, you can feel at home.
Yeah, and that's one of the, I think a big part of that, which is very true for me too. I go to a foreign country, I don't speak the language, but if I find a synagogue, I've got a little home, right? Some of that is the fact that we have a common language, right? And this is one of the important things that Hebrew does for us, is that, if everybody prayed only in their vernacular language, I couldn't walk into a synagogue and know where I stand. And the Hebrew is the commonality, right? But I want to come back to God as the place of the world, and the world is not the place of God. So Lee and then Annette.
I think that the sense of this is clearer in English than it would be in Hebrew, because we've got capital letters.
Right.
And you notice that the first place in that sentence is capitalized, and the second place is not.
Right.
Which means the place, the world is not anywhere where God does not belong. It's like saying it's God of all these things, but it's not God. All these things. God was in the storm, but the storm was not God. That kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. And that.
I follow along the same lines. The world is not the place of God, because that would be limiting God. And God's transcendent. So God is in this world, and God is beyond this world. God's transcendent.
Right. Okay. So God is immanent, which is to say in this world, but God is not only immanent. God is also transcendent. So I think that's the shot, the kind of plain sense of the statement, right? God is the place of the world. So everything in the world, God is in every place of the world, right? I mean, Jacob's just said God is in this place, right? So it's not that God isn't present in the world, but God's presence while filling the world is also beyond the world, as we know. Okay? So and that's the sense that, God is the place of the world. All the world is within God, as it were. But the world is only one, but God goes beyond the world. So, my heart is in me, but I'm more than my heart, right? Yes.
So if God is the place in the world, for God to be in that place in the world, don't you have to carry God with you?
Yes, I think so. And I think if God is everywhere, if God is everywhere in the world, and our tradition says God is everywhere in the world, that includes meaning in us.
Because I think you carry it with you. And that's the place.
Right. Now this is the hard part, of course, is there are places in the world where it doesn't seem so readily apparent that God is there. Right? In war zones and, where horrible atrocities are being done. There are places, you look out at the Grand Canyon and, if you believe in God, you're an atheist, you may not see God there, but if you're inclined to believe in God, you look over that and you think, yeah, God is in this place. So some places God's presence is more readily apparent than in others. Some places it creates a kind of dissonance to think that God is there at all.
Yeah. If the God of Israel in the upper world of sensitivity and the lower world of insensitivity, how would God do both worlds in combined, in combination in your opinion? I get confused with that.
Me too. No, really, and when the question is how does God view the world, I don't know. I don't get God's view of the world. My view of the world is pretty narrow and circumscribed. It's hard for me to even see the world through my wife or my children's place, from God's place, all the more so, my range of vision is pretty small.
Well, this brings us to the concept of free will.
Yeah?
And, when you see a world that has so much evil in it, and God sort of is hard
Yeah.
to say, how can that be? Because that's the creation of God. But then if we didn't have free will, life would be very, very different. And it's free will that leads to the vast places.
I'll say that I agree.
But
But only partially. Not only partially. I significantly agree. But the free will piece only explains okay, how is God in this place where, I mean, how is God in Auschwitz? I mean, to take the extreme example, right? And okay, you can use the free will. God gives human beings free will. The free will piece doesn't explain, though, the plague, the earthquake, the tornado, the flood, the things that cause enormous suffering, but aren't a result of human choices. Now it's a little trickier when, you think sometimes, the flood, well, if human beings built in the flood zone and you're flooded, there's an element there's a human component to it. But there are clearly some natural disasters that are tragic, and they're not human free will pieces, right? I mean, that part of the free will doesn't exactly answer the question. Nobody's ever really successfully answered that question entirely, right? It's a perpetual question. Sure.
So the world is not the place of God, it's the place of us, of people. And so if we come upon a place in our heads and understand that God can be in the world, it takes us to make that happen.
Interesting.
So he said he was in this place, but I didn't know it. You have to have the concept of knowing it, and then the energy flows. Otherwise, it's power off and not a very good thing.
So our consciousness, this is a little like if the tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it thing, like Bishop Barclay. Yeah, okay. So God being fully present in the place depends upon, in a way, as it were, on a perceiver of the presence. Okay, somebody else had it.
Well, I think instead of just saying Hamakom, the other name of God that relates better is Ein Sof, without end. God is infinite, not just in one place.
Right. Okay. So that's that term. That one's a little later. That's the Kabbalist. That's a Kabbalistic name. Okay, I want to look at a couple more. So I'm going to skip Gordon Tucker. Just to note, just to offer, in good Jewish fashion, a dissenting opinion. Ibn Ezra, 10th century Spanish Jewish commentator, says, do not pay any attention to the midrashic interpretation that explains Makom as referring to God, because it most certainly does not. So, he's going to disagree. So, okay, just an outlier opinion. It's always helpful to have one of those, a friend.
I take Edgar's comment in a way of saying, don't make the place holy. It's the thing that if you start focusing on the thing where you perceive God, that's my first thought. Yeah.
Okay, so yes. Also to note, even Ezra, just as you get to know these commentators a little bit, Rashi and Ramban even more, Nachmanides, they like the midrashic readings that take you kind of a long way from the plain sense of the text. Even Ezra always wants you to come back to the plain sense of the text, right? He's like, whoa, you're going off on this metaphorical crazy ride here, No, it just says the place. The place means the damn place, right? That's even Ezra. He's always going to be a guy who's like, okay, you can have this flight of the imagination. Enjoy your fanciful flight, but remember, this is like what the thing really means. That's his personality. He's like, the others are like the poets, like he's the engineer, you know? Okay, Don.
I have a retort.
Yes, to even Ezra?
You.
To me, okay.
I didn't hear everything everybody said, so I apologize. But it occurs to me, when you're talking about earthquakes and all those natural disasters, so you're suggesting that humans are more important than the place, which is the world. And the world can go do its thing for its own survival. And if humans happen to be destroyed in the process, who's to say, ironically, which is more important, the place or the human?
So, that is a good retort.
Finally.
Because Maimonides offered that retort. Maimonides offered that retort 1,000 years ago. This is like the past. Like I've written a number of papers. This is like kind of my passage, like my little tiny niche of the Maimonidean scholar world, and I am not a Maimonidean scholar. But I studied this passage in Maimonides for very intensely with a professor while in rabbinical school, and have written on it numerous times since, in connection with environmental ethics, actually. But that's a longer story. But he says, he points to there was an Islamic philosopher, and Maimonides read a lot of Islamic philosophers. Mm-hmm. And he says, there's a guy named Muhammad ibn Zakaria al-Razi, who says there's more evil than good in the world. Razi makes up a list, and he says, he draws a long metaphorical list of line, and on one side is bad stuff, and the other is good stuff. And he says the list of bad stuff is longer than the list of good stuff, and therefore the world is more bad than good. And Maimonides, who is, an elitist and who never pulls his punches, says, he says, do not read the ravings of this ignoramus and others like him. And he says, the flaw is that he, in his list of good and bad, good means good for human beings, and bad means bad for human beings. And he says, this is very limiting. He says, God, to come back to where we started, God's view is bigger than that. Something that strikes me as bad, okay, it's bad for me, but I'm not the center of the world. So your retort is well-grounded.
Grounded meaning the earth.
Well-grounded in the earth and in Jewish philosophy. Okay, I want to end with the Lawrence Kushner passage, which is on a passage that we know. In the Siddur. Adonai sympathetic path with fi agi tehillah. Adonai, open my lips, my mouth may declare your praise. He says, in much but not all of the Hebrew Bible and the prayer book, God and people are separate, distinct, discrete, autonomous, independent, and apart from one another. God says this, we say that. God does this, we do that. God's here, we're there. So why begin our personal prayers with a denial of that mutual autonomy and free will? The Psalm says, and this line comes from Psalms, God, will you please open my mouth? Hey, who's working my mouth anyway, me or God? Who's praising God, me or God? And it is odd to say, God, open my mouth so that I can praise you. What's going on here is another spiritual paradigm, one in which God and people are not only distinct from one another, but are literally within one another. God is the ocean, and we are the waves. That's a metaphor that comes up often in Kabbalistic tradition, and Kushner loves this metaphor, right? The waves are not separate from the ocean, even though they're their own thing. In the words of Hasidic thought in Yiddish, alles ist Gott. It's all God. My mouth is God's mouth. My praises are God's words. In the words of Rabbi Kalanimus Kalma Shapira Bijashna. And not only does God hear our prayers, God prays them through us as well. The words of the Amida may sound like they come from me, but in truth they come from a higher source. Prayer may ultimately be an exercise for helping us let go of our egos, which are hopelessly anchored to this world, where one person is discrete from another and from God, soared to the heavens, where we realize there was a Holy One we had been an expression of all along. God opened my lips so my mouth may declare your praise. So we began by talking about God's transcendence, but in the world that Kushner's talking about, which really draws on Kabbalistic and Hasidic thought, the emphasis is really strongly on God's immanence, less on transcendence, and more, all is God. We are expressions of God. Our words are God's words. Pantheism is usually the technical, theological word for this. But any last thoughts on It's all God. Okay. Concluding portion of the service. Back in our Siddur. Page 203. Yikadal Yikadash Shemei Rabba. The Almighty record David Mechmachute, but I am son of you Mechuna. I am the Made Israel by Allah Makari Vimru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba Nevora. Leolam Lo Me'amaya. Yedvara. Ibrat Shema. Ibrat Shema Shemina the Dari Shemai 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 Bekusha. Buried food. Leilani Omer Katabashirata. Vishvachata Nakamata. Namiram Yamah Yimru. Amen. Yikabatzon non tuishro kadama vishmayam Yimru. Amen. Yishlom Rabbi Shemayim Chaim Alin V'Yoko Yisrael Yimru. Amen. Osei Shalom Yimrom Avu Yasei Shalom. Alin V'Yoko Yisrael Yishbeit Yevel Yimru. Amen. Ein Eloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Koshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Adonenu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Koshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shikiru, Avoteinu, Lefanecha et Kevoret Asamim. Rise at table for Aleinu, page 205. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateged l'alion sebreshit, shelo asanu kugei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo samtakenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'cholam. V'anachnu korim mishtachavim u'modim b'fnei melech malchei hamakim hakadosh baruch hu shechunot hashamayim v'yosar haaretz u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim nima'av v'shkinatu zol v'gofim meromim hu Eloheinu Einod Emelkeinu Emetzulato Hakatu b'torato, v'yadata yom v'shivota elavavcha. Ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim imal, v'al haaretz mitachat einon. V'tubatorata Adonai lo le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz, v'yom ha'hu yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shamo echad. Recall now those of our congregation, community, family, and friends, those who we could help dear, who have died at these seasons in years past, those who have died in recent days, all those we hold close in our hearts, and the mourners who have names of people who you are remembering on the Shabbat, would like to speak the names. Do so.
Henry Munoz, Antonio, Rosa, and Thomas.
Zichronam L'bracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Calling them, I invite the mourners, and all whose custom it is to rise at the table for Kaddish, page 207. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalmad, V'yvrach Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei L'chol Beit Yisrael, V'alav Zman Karev, V'yavru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, L'orat, V'olam V'yalmaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitahar, Yitramam, Yitnaset, Yitladar, Yitlaleh, Yitalal, Shemed V'chah, Barichu, Le'elam, Yikol Birchata, Shirata, Dushbechata, V'nechamata, Amiran, V'yalma, V'yavru, Amen. Yehei Shalom, Rabbah, Ben Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, V'yofo Yisrael, V'yavru, Amen. V'osei Shalom, V'romav, V'yasei Shalom, Aleinu, V'yofo Yisrael, V'yofo Yishmei Tevel, V'yavru, Amen. And the one who makes peace on high, the peace descend on us, on all Israel, and all the world. Let us say, Amen. We will conclude with Kiddush immediately after our final song. Thank you to Eddie for setting up, and you're joining us that way, streaming, for setting up our sound and picture. We will end with the Adon Olam. 211. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yein Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nivra Azai Melech Shemo Nivra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimlok Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Oveh V'hu Yiyah V'tifara V'hu Yiyah V'tifara V'hu Echad V'yein Sheni L'ham Shelo L'hakvira V'li Reshit V'li Takvit V'lo Ha'oz L'ham Yisra V'lo Ha'oz L'ham Yisra V'hu Eli V'chai Go'ali V'tzor Kavi V'yei Tzara V'hu Nisi L'manosli V'nakosi V'yom Ekra V'nakosi V'yom Ekra V'yado Akid Ruti V'eiti Sham V'ha'ira V'imruti Geviyati
Adonai li velo ira. Adonai li velo ira. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat Broncos.
I think we need it.
I think we are done.